All right, so this should be a fun video. This is the second in the two videos that I was doing. That's the mixing stress free. There was a question at the beginning of this video, and what I want you to know, the name of stress free was intended to tell you it doesn't have to be stressful. There doesn't have to be a deadline. Okay, it's if I get my mix back, and let's say somebody like myself's mixing it, even if you are a mixing engineer, take this with you. Don't set people up to make them believe that it should be perfect right out the gate. But what I wanted to explain in that video, and I'll go in a little more in depth here, is when we make these decisions and you have an artist on the other end, there is definitely a problem with just saying, I don't like it. I don't like it. Well, see, to an artistic person, like that's more of like a fan of music, somebody that loves music. Maybe they're they're not really understanding what you played, the bass parts, guitar parts. They don't understand the production, the pre-production. When you say I don't like it as an artist, to an engineer that comes off as, wow, like, so you don't like everything? Like, you didn't have, like, I'm not really feeling the drums. Maybe the vocals could have been. Now, if there's like a laundry list of things, it might not be the right engineer. They may have heard it totally different. In that case, you can go back to the drawing board. But most of the time, when somebody says they don't like something, there's something about what you did they don't like. It could be you mix the pianos too hot. It could be you mix the vocals too bright. You mix the drums a way that they weren't hearing in their heads. It's really weird. It's psychology at this point, where you hear something and you go, it doesn't sound like this. You might have like a false perception that somebody has this kind of vocal, so now you have to make your track sound like this kind of vocal, and then you get this thing fixated. So what I wanted to say in the stress and anxiety free way is we can fix it. Now, I'm a very fortunate person, and I want you to understand this. I've been very, very lucky. Thank you, God, that I haven't had to deal with too many revisions. I haven't had to deal with that too much where somebody says, oh, I don't like it. Usually what I get is, dude, it sounds really good, but you know what I mean? So it's like, this is great. They're excited, but they have a few little things. So that's what this video is about. So let me get back on screen. This is the same exact session. Let me make sure everything's right on my little streaming thing. This is a little Allen and Heath. It's pretty cool. I think we're giving you the signal, so let me make sure. Yep, they're up. All right, so this is what happened. This is actually the artist. I'll put him in there. His name's Abraham James. Go check his music out, dude. You can find it. Just type in Abraham James on Apple Music, Spotify. This song should be up there shortly. But he came over, and we went through each thing. So the first step that I had was what I called the pre-mix. In the pre-mix, let me put this back up full so you can hear me, because I got to sort of explain this. In the pre-mix, I went through, let me show you the side. So I went through and did all my processing. I like doing it that way because then I know I have it printed. So we ran some stuff through the 1073s, some stuff through the distressors, certain things. Now this is on my mastering chain, but I use this individually on tracks. I have two stereo buses up top on this satellite that you can feed back. If you purchase one of these, it has two channels of stereo output, so two different buses. So you can print two at a time. Now, these are my buses for the main outputs, which I can show you in the next video. But then I routed through two Portico channels. So I had each thing that I picked and chose, and that's what it was. So we take it, and in the new Pro Tools, you can actually commit those tracks, and that's why I do it that way. I'm not doing heavy lifting. I'm just getting rid of and improving the things that I know the artist will like. Like, from years of doing this, that's the anxiety and stress-free I was talking about in the video. Somebody asked me that question. It's now you have what we want. Now the stress is off. Okay, we're at a good place, and now little things can make big differences. So what we did from there, the artist came over, and now we'll get into the video with the sound. Here we go. So once we got into it, I went through, let him listen to it, and here's our final, so I'll let you listen to the final. Give me 1 second here.
is it over yet? Cause I can still remember the days before all of it. Yeah, back before we sold ourselves for convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell. And everybody's selfish, selfish and helpless. A lot of good to self-help on the shelf is, cause all I feel is friction. I got a cold dead heart and another prescription. And what about the scripture? Can we go back one more time just to put a little love in the mixture? Back to being brothers and sisters. And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and
All right, so you guys get the gist of what's going on. I don't want to do the whole track. I hope you guys go and check his music out. Very talented artist. So what we did is when he came over, and to hint the name again, Anxiety and Stress Free. So I got it to this place where there was a lot of little things that he heard. We got together and we fixed them. So there were certain things on the backup vocals, certain EQ moves that I made. He wanted a little bit more of that body of the voice. Now I understand that's the muffle of the voice, but it sounded good on this particular backdrop. This was poking through a little bit, so I did a little 2K, and this is why I wanted to do the whole stress-free series. That little move between the vocals, if you hear it, so this is the one it's on.
in between a man and a woman and you.
Okay, so this is the vocal it was on, and it just was coming forward too much. That could lead an artist to saying, man, dude, he missed it. You know what I mean? But it's really a simple fix. It's not a volume fix. It's not an adjust the volume. It's an adjust the energy. This range here, like the 3K range, is a really energized 3 to 4K range. Is an energy range that we perceive with our ears is very, very sensitive. I mean, like you'll hear it on Radiohead records. You'll hear it on the balancing point of a master can dictate, okay, does it have too much life, too little life? And it's really weird. So as you see me bump this, let me bump it.
In between a man and a woman and you know.
So the vocal underneath, and I actually grouped these. Let me ungroup them when we were messing with them.
In between a man and a woman.
This is the other one.
In between a man and a woman.
Okay, so when he came over, I cut that.
In between a man and a woman and you know.
So you hear both of them now. So it's just that simple fix. When we take this EQ off, watch what happens.
In between a man and a woman and you know.
It just gets a little harsh. That top vocal sort of comes forward a little bit.
In between a man and a woman. In between a man and a woman.
And then this adds the body of the first one and cuts the body of cuts that energy of the first one.
In between a man and a woman and you know.
So it sounds like it's supposed to have an effect. It's supposed to be a backdrop vocal. And what it did when it comes into this second part, if you listen, these are all revisions we made the last day.
You don't even know it. Somebody tell me when it's over. Or should I just break down and cry?
So the next thing is I actually had a Moog EQ. We have the real deal in the rack over here. It's one of my go-to EQs. If you want to check it out, it's up here where the cell phone's plugged in so you guys can see. But this is the plug-in version, and I did this because I did add, I believe I added some Moog, but this, I just wanted to give it a little bit more, and we just decided it was too much. I mean, we did that happens, you know, so this is what it had on this solo. Let me go back to my regular camera here. Trying to play cameraman, and my dog's going nuts back here. So listen to this with the Moog on.
It's over. Or should I just break down and cry?
It got a little bit harsh. I mean, I added a lot of 10K. It was recorded with a a Focusrite, okay, like the inexpensive ones, and he's doing this at his house with an SM57, and we got his voice to sit like this. It's pretty cool. So
It's over.
see how.
Or should I just break down and cry?
Yeah, it just brought something out of his voice that he was hearing in his vocal, and that was really important to him. It's his track, you know. So that's the thing that, and I will say this with love and respect to any artist out there. You usually gear, or you usually focus more on your own thing. But he was the producer as well. But he knows what he wants his voice to sound like. There's nothing wrong with that. When you reach out to an engineer, you should be able to have that conversation. Like, hey, dude, I don't like the low end. Like, maybe the bass isn't what it is. This is the thing that we did. So we got these three together. So when they play together,
It's over. Or should I just break down and cry?
natural distortion, natural reverb. So now, if you listen to this with the drums, we tucked the drums back from my original mix, just a touch. He heard the body of the vocal getting overtaken a little bit by the drums. So we went in and we actually, let me just solo all these. I'll just do it with the mouse instead of the controls because I got everything highlighted. So here's the drums with it, and you'll hear it. It sounds.
It's over. Or should I just break down and cry? And it just keeps getting colder. I pray for the world tonight.
All right, so if you watch the first video, same placeholder on YouTube thumbnails, but this is the mixing session. If you watch that video, you're going to notice that I did something with the Heritage Audio and I lifted it. We dialed that back just a touch, and then we brought his voice and found the mids in the voice, and now we're mixing. Now we're into the mixing stage. So usually the way that I work with people, if they're going to send me a full session, a mix is all the plugins. I mean, it's all the tracks. Like, stem session mastering is usually buses, the drum bus, the bass bus, the guitar bus, the vocal bus, and then I can stem master through some of our hardware. But in this case, we're doing a mix. Now, if you look at this, I went through and little subtle changes in the mix. A lot of volume adjustments. In the case of the drums, I still have my bus ready to work with, so I could cut that back.
It's over.
Bus off.
Or should I just break down and cry?
So we got a great level on his voice. It's got a lot of energy. We got the energy matched. We did some volume adjustments. And then on the bass, I actually had a JJP bass on the first sub bass. I took it off when I sent it to him. When he came over, I actually placed it back on. He liked what I did. So that's another big thing to realize. Engineers, they may have already did what you may have liked. And then they go, oh, I don't know, that might be a little bit too much. It's changing his low end. So listen to what I did to this. And then you can say, oh, I see what he's saying. So I actually changed it back to my original. Instead of just printing the dang bass the way it was, I didn't know if he would like it. You know what I mean? So let's find this bass. Let's see which one it comes out. Yeah. So this is what we had before. Same thing, just a lot more image, a lot more depth. A lot more of the playing. You can hear the doom 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 or whatever it was.
And this is what we made.
So in the session, I don't have it running because of the video, but I had an insert on this, so we did end up using some hardware in the final steps because of what he told me to do. So I think he said I really wanted to just sound bigger but not louder. So we have certain tools that'll do that. This is what we did after I printed the bass between the two.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know, we play these little games on these stupid little screens.
So as you can see on this bass real quick, that's this bass, sub bass. I did a bump at 46. I wanted to get the low end 66 hertz. So that whole thing's like a, just giving it some more low sub. The other thing I did is I added a little 220 just to make it sound better in more small iPhones and stuff like that. If I shelved this, you'll see what I mean.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know, we play these little games on these stupid little screens. And we're dying.
So then we made a decision in the mix that I had this synth bass and I had it a little bit louder. It was just a touch louder, okay? This is what it was. So I'll show you what I did to make it perceived to be louder, but it tucks behind. So let's keep this one going.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know, we play these.
So what we did, and what I thought about doing, but he liked it the other way. These are small changes. I took out a lot of the sub.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know,
We actually liked it back where it was.
These stupid little screens, and we're dying on the inside, and we.
Abe's really good at picking and choosing sounds. So that's what, if you're out there watching this as an artist and you're looking to get your music mixed, not every engineer needs to like totally change your sound. It's more about understanding how to get that sound. In his words was 2D, make it 3D. I mean, it's like you can hear everything, every little thing. And that's what we did. And so he came back over one day. It took like an hour and a half. And we actually added this, which is a transgressor, a new plugin. I just got it, literally just got it. And what I wanted to do is just tighten this up. Let me get off myself here. Dude, cameraman, you're falling behind. So I got this cool plugin, the transgressor. What this lets me do is sort of adjust the transient, the initial transient, and I bumped it here around 50. And then over here, I wanted it to sustain more in that actual buzz, that synth buzz that you get.
And this is what we made,
so if I turn it off,
but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken.
See how it steps on his voice? Let me do it again.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know, we play these little games.
So that little change, I might let me play it one more time so you can hear it. Listen to his voice go to the back when I take it off.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and.
Now we'll turn it on.
And this is what we made, but this is what we hate. And this is why everything's broken between a man and a woman. And you know, we play these little games on these stupid little screens. And we're dying on the inside, and we.
So really just shaping the attack and the release or the sustain of that sound and EQing them just a little bit different. Super cool plugin, by the way. It just brought it down enough. There was no volume adjustment. Yeah, there is a little bit of a volume. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I should do that fair. This is a 4 dB drop. But even with that, I'm sorry. That's not gonna cut it. To you level match guys, you're gonna go wait. No, but it just did a thing where it just let that peak, and it gave him a little more presence as he was coming through. And plus the microphone's an SM57. We got to go with the rawness. We got to leave it raw, you know, because you take too much out, it sounds skinny, just the way that microphone captures. So let me move on. I mean, there's so many little changes. The other thing we did is we changed the perception of this in the beginning. It's a little more. So let's listen to the beginning, totally, all the way to the front. It's just a little more relaxed than I had it, just a touch. And then the strings, we sort of let those come forward. So everything he was cool with there. So all the mixing I did there pre that. Now, if you watch the first video, all the stuff in that first video was printed. I know I only went through the drums, but I wanted to keep it pretty time friendly. Now, I went through and printed all this, like I said, through the hardware, and then we went on to the vocals. So most of the stuff we were fixing was very subtle stuff in the vocals. I was using the CLA. It's a quick way. Anybody that says it's cheating, dude, it's not cheating. It's time saving to keep these mixes like relatively inexpensive. I mean, for every budget around the nation. I mean, like some people, and I get it, dude. I was an artist for years, and then I got into the engineering. I went to recording school and all that good stuff. But it does cost money, you know. So I would say on a given day, a mix is anywhere between 6 and it could be 2 weeks. I mean, but a mix like this, I told him 8 hours. I mean, I said, look, I had 8 hours in it. You know, I'm prorating. I'm like, if I go to 12, I'm not gonna charge him for 12. So I'm really cool with people like that. But the anxiety, stress free thing, if you got to spend another, few bucks and you just go through a few revisions for an hour, that's fine. It's it's not breaking the bank, and it's, oh no, I didn't get what I want, and that's what we do. There's so many people, myself included, when I first got into music, I was like, oh no, I sent it to this guy, he's not going to be able to fix it. But yeah, it's just subtle changes. And so we pushed this a little hotter, and I got to know who he was. I got to know what he wanted. So next time he sends me a track, dude, I'm gonna put it right there, and then we can make decisions from there. So that's what it sounded like.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
Drums.
Yeah, back before we sold ourselves for convenience, exchanging our freedom for all the phony hope they sell. And everybody's selfish and helpless. A lot of good to self-help.
So now this is mixing, guys. So I'm going in, I'm making adjustments to the vocal. We added 1K. We took some of the low muffle out of it. His vocal had a lot of that natural microphone muffle from SM57. I actually ended up carving a little bit more, ducking some of that, I would say more of the presence range that was a little bit shrill to him. The CLA vocal, so all that became before the CLA vocal. Then I did some bass. I actually set it to lower. I just like it because it's simple. I love this plugin because you have a lot of processes. This is a lot of auxiliaries that would take, 30 minutes to set up. And I like how these guys made plugins that get you to where you want to go quicker. I still did my own EQ. I still did my own de-essing. And then I actually did my own processing. And you can check that on the video before. But in that processing, let me look at what I used. I believe I ran it through these and this. So we hit the distressor, we had the porticos. I did my basic EQ, the stuff I knew I would keep, like high filter, cutting off around, I think it was like 198, something like that. Taking out muffle in the 2 to 400, and basic limiting compression. Compression I know I'm not gonna not do, so I do things that are fail safe. And then I think I did drive it through the Fusion just to give it a little bit more space in the mix. There's something about SSL that's really good at that. And then we did this process here that you'll see here on screen. So then we went in and started doing gating you know, stuff like that. So I know if I took all this off, which I can let you hear it, I didn't change his gain though. So this is where it's deceiving. You're not going to hear a change in gain. You're not going to hear, it's going to sound really, really low.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
So I wanted to leave the muffle. That's what an SM57 sounds like, you know. And it was just to carve away, give it space, give it image, give it depth. Just because you use hardware doesn't mean it's gonna be better. It's really the process. So then we added this,
Is it over yet?
tightened him up.
'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
Now, guys, I know you can clean the vocal up even more with this right here.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
So yeah, I mean, it depends on the vocal, but when we talked about it, he liked that roughness, and I like the roughness. Then you add the CLA,
Is it over yet?
brings the roughness
'Cause I
out.
can still remember the days before all of it.
Now, if we had this EQ on, it'll probably sound too skinny.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
Crazy, right? And then the de-esser just to grab the top.
Is it over yet?
Yeah.
'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
So we actually got back some of the original, some of that original muffle, which sounds cool with the track. Now listen to it with the track.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
And then, yeah, I spent a day, like I said, 8 to 9 hours on this one. But then we just did some smoothing out, got rid of some harshness in the backgrounds, some more harshness. I did a clarity vox on this one because I could still hear the room in it. But that was it, man. And that's what I wanted to show you. And then the thing is as I'm mixing, let me go back to my mix window. But as I'm mixing, I have a meter on, and I'm checking this, and this is stuff you learn over the years of doing this. Your ears get calibrated to that frequency or that level or that LUFS, and we wanted to have it sit around between 14 and 9, -9 being the loud pass.
Is it over yet? 'Cause I can still remember the days before all of it.
So -14 is a Spotify level. I'll do a whole video on this for you guys. Something can sound a lot louder at -14 than another thing sounds at -14. So if you've ever like uploaded your stuff and you go, dude, my stuff doesn't sound as loud as theirs. There's a certain way to get it to sound louder at a certain level. And it's harmonics, it's all that stuff. So we can get into that in some mixing videos. But the point of this video was just that. Like, dude, you can go in. Our first stage, just to show you real quick, was hardware. It was all this stuff. It was summing. It was printed. It was get it to the best possible level. The second stage was go into the software and start to do the adjustments, level gain, level match, mixing, trying to figure out where he was at, listen to his rough and say, okay, I see where he's going with that. He has a vision in his head. So we're like, okay, so let's leave that vision. We don't need, I think one of the biggest fears that people have, and I know through the years, is somebody's just going to twist your stuff and change it. And that's not what I do. That's not what mixing is. And that's why I wanted to do like a 2-part on this. That's the anxiety-free part. If a person totally changes and totally steps on your production, I would say this. They're more of a producer than an engineer. An engineer should not be taking your song, totally changing it. Excuse me. And then after they change it, saying, well, why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? So it's like, but there's also on the other side where there's a handful of people that want me to change it. So I build that relationship with who I work with. So yeah, and then the last thing was going through, as you can see, it's not like it was a small process. You can see all the plugs and stuff. Let me move. But there's a lot of plugs, a lot of EQs, reverbs, a Pan Man effect, a C2 solid state channel. I mean, all this is the bus for the drums, the bass. So you still have these. You can see I take things off too, like when I don't need them, I don't like them. And you go all the way through here, and that's the mix. And now we're using these tools to get the most out of this song. So guys, I did this video. I thank you guys for supporting my channel. I know I've been a little bit like back and forth and dodgy. I do a lot of work. We do a lot of mixes. We do a lot of masters. So the best way to learn from me is to send it. But also, I wanted to do this video because it seems like there's a lot of videos, like I said in the first one, where people are sort of giving you half the process. You know, oh yeah, we got this sounding good, we got that sounding good. Now, sampled music, sometimes the track's already mixed. You know, some of the samples are mixed. In that case, it is different. So you got to know when to not do stuff also. So my name's Doug Jenkins. Just hit the thumbs up or subscribe. I never promote that. But yeah, if you guys need mixing, send it. You know, I'm not here to like beat you over the head with a stick and say, oh, that's horrible. I don't judge the artist. I judge the art and the quality of that art. So that's what a mixing engineer does. And then once you have all that, then it goes to the next stage, which is a totally different process, and that's mastering. So once again, my name's Doug Jenkins. You can reach out to me personally at dougjenkinsmastering@gmail.com. Peace. We'll see y'all later. Miles, you still back there? Miles is in trouble, dude. He pooped in the... Oh, dude, he pooped in the vocal booth. Dang it.